right, it's Friday, April 22nd, 2022. I'm Andy Johnson. Good morning, good to have you. This is how we begin today's edition of AM Prime. Tell you what's coming down the pike on this Friday morning. Of course, we'll be talking, two-thirds of the program this morning will be focused on the great contribution, the legend that was known as Kitchener, the Calypso genius of this country, has produced. A group of people are marking the 100th anniversary of his birth with a number of activities in different parts of the country. And this morning we want to talk with two of those persons closest with him over the time that he spent on the stage and elsewhere in Trinidad and Tobago, and in fact across the world. He lived in the United Kingdom for some time, as you would imagine. Errol Piroux, who wrote a very moving piece in the Express last Sunday about his relationship with Kitchener. He was his manager for some period of time. We're talking with him in the second part of the program. And then Relator, who was first to go on record as recognizing the genius that it was. He has a calypso called Nobody Does It Better Than Kitchener. So we talk with Relator later on in the program. Of course, we give you the staples. We have the numbers for you, the latest numbers from COVID-19. We'll take you around the region in a bit. We talk to what is happening with one of the ministers in Belize this morning, that and other things. But right now with us, again, he's doing it. Ravi Balgovind Maharaj has gone to court again about a matter that he calls for, well, transparency, but more than that, for he's challenging the appointment of the man who is now the chairman of the National Insurance Board in the middle of the discussions taking place about where does the board sit at the moment, or would the agency sit at the moment with these discussions about the country's social security arrangements? So lots of stuff about that, but Ravi is taking issue with the appointment of Mr. Ferreira as the chairman. He says he's not independent. He's too close both to business and to government. And the sense is that somebody in the position of chairman, because a number of the members of the board come from whether the government, the private sector, and the labor movement, but that the chairman ought to be independent. He says that's not the case, and he's in court with that at the moment. He's agreed to talk with us about it. Good morning. Good to have you.
Hi. Hi. Good morning, Andy. Good morning to all the viewers again. Thanks again for having me.
Yeah, man. So take it up from there. You say that so you've gone to court challenging the appointment of Mr. Ferreira as chairman. So there's no problem with him being on the board. The question is the chairmanship. And your position is that, and the attorneys who are supporting you in this matter, is that the chairman ought to be demonstrably more independent than Mr. Ferreira appears to be.
Well, Andy, I mean, Mr. Ferreira actually served on the board of NIB from 2017 until he took up the position of chairman when he was given the articles of appointment in January this year. And what is interesting as well, and it's not something that could have been pursued legally, but the thing about it, while he was sitting as a chairman of the board of NIB, he was also a director of the board of NIPDEC for about a month's period between January and March. It was terminated in March. But the thing about it, NIB oversees NIPDEC. NIPDEC is a subsidiary of NIB. And I wonder how the government felt having someone sit as a chairman of a board and then have that same person as a director of a board that sits below that. I mean, that the government cannot see a conflict of interest in anything that they do to this degree and to this extent is worrying. But going back to the fact that he now sits as chairman of NIB, the legislation that governs the National Insurance Board clearly states that the composition of the board will consist of 3 persons from the government, 3 persons from the private sector, and 3 persons from labor. An executive member who is ex officio, and then a chairman who will be independent of all 3 bodies and who would be an objective person to lead the board. Mr. Ferreira, as a former director on behalf of the government, in my opinion, cannot serve as an independent and objective chairman of the NIB board. He also sits currently as a board member of the Furnace Group of Companies, and he's the chair of some subsidiaries of the Furnace Group as well. And he also sits as a director of a subsidiary of the National Gas company. So, I mean, all of these things, when you put them together, you'll see that Mr. Patrick Ferreira is absolutely nowhere close to being considered an independent mind or an independent person, and has no right to be sitting as the chair of the National Insurance Board.
Right. So he was appointed essentially as a representative of the business community, and he does. I think he is the CEO and chairman of the Furnace Group of companies, if I'm not mistaken, as well as other positions that he holds. And you're saying that he got on there by being a representative of the business community.
No, well, he got on the board of the NIB in 2017 as a representative of the government, which was in of itself a little bit suspicious because, as you said, he's on the board of these private companies like Furnace, and the fact that he sees no conflict of interest in serving these two boards, one as a state representative and then one as a private businessman. I think, it shows that his moral compass, that his sense of morality and ethics in these matters may not be at a position where, again, he is the right person to be serving also as an independent and objective person that is required for the position as chairman of the NIB. And the thing about it, NIB is at a crossroads right now where, they're looking at mandating persons work until 65, until retirement, because, in terms of the funding for NIB, they're saying, they're not. And all of these things are crucial matters to the general public, to the workforce of Trinidad and Tobago. And to have someone who is so clearly conflicted in his ideologies, in his responsibilities, can he make an objective decision and an independent decision into matters like this that really benefits the workers and the working people of Trinidad and Tobago? Or will he always be skewed and will he always be biased towards those other positions that he currently holds? I don't know, but the fact that he isn't willing to give up any of these other positions, that he isn't willing to at least try to make himself appear independent, shows that he has a connection to these other faculties of society that he isn't willing to let go of.
So
and that is worrying, and that is very troublesome.
Can he remain on the board in some other capacity, or just as a board member without being chairman?
No. Well, he was elevated from a board member of the NIB to chairman in January. I believe it's January 22nd. And that's where the conflict comes into interest. Because had he simply been a board member, had he remained as a board member as he was before, the government is free to appoint whoever they choose as a board member, whether this person has any position within a private entity or not. It might be morally murky, but it isn't breaking any laws.
Right.
As I said, the thing about it, as I said, where he sat both on the board of NIB and NIPDEC is a little questionable. But none of these things breaks any laws.
All right, I want to come back to your specific action here, but let me just ask how do you respond to the response from, I think it's the Minister of Finance saying, well, this is not new, and that the UNC in government as part of the People's Partnership did things that are similar, that could equate with this.
Well, no, and the thing about it, Mr. Imbert is good at deflecting and creating a smoke screen and creating these sorts of bacchanal to try to deflect from the situation. The persons that he's pointing to are persons who, and Trinidad is a small place, so it's very hard to get people, who haven't been affiliated with different organizations within the society. But the persons that he are pointing to, that he says, these persons served in a capacity where they ought to be objective and independent, they weren't doing it at the same time. They had a position before, and then they removed themselves from these positions, and then they were placed into another position. In terms of Mr. Patrick Ferreira, however, he sits both on the board of Furnace, the Furnace group of companies, and the NIB, which shows a clear conflict of interest in terms of, being part of the private sector and serving in this position. But again, he was previously a member of the board, clearly representing the government. So to have all of these things hanging over him, to be representing so many different bodies and so many different capacities, and then be promoted to a position that ought to be wholly independent, is something that really shouldn't be allowed to take place.
All right, and inside of that, you are asking the court to rule that he should not continue to function in the position while the matter is to be heard until.
Well, in addition to the judicial challenge that we filed in terms of the appointment as a whole, we've also filed an injunction to try to prevent him from taking any action, as you said, until the entire matter is heard. Because really and truly, and again, because this position and this board impacts so many lives, right? The entire working population of Trinidad and Tobago are affected by NIB. All of them make contributions to it, as it legally mandated. So really and truly, he ought not to be acting in this position until the judicial review can be heard and until there's a clear consensus of whether or not he can legally act as the chairman of the NIB.
All right. What's your response to the position that the judge in this matter, Justice Jacqueline Wilson, is yet to decide whether she will grant leave to pursue the matter based on court hearings or after a hearing before her? So explain that to us. So the one position is that she can have a hearing on which she will decide to go forward with the matter, or that the case to be decided to grant leave for it outside of that.
Well, that's nothing new, and that's something that usually takes place in the judicial system and in the judicial process, is that, they want to make sure that, there's enough of a legal ground, a legal framework for the case to be heard, both in terms of the injunction, as I said, and the judicial review. I think that we have presented a strong case on both counts, and I think that, and again, through my attorneys, Mr. Anam Ramlogan, Jayanti Lasmedial, Freedom Law Chambers, I think that we can put forward an extremely strong case because, again, this type of action that the government has taken is unprecedented. Never before has someone been elevated directly from the board representing one of these three entities, either the government, the private sector, or labor, and then be placed as chairman, right? It's never happened. So, and the law itself is very specific in its wording that the person ought to be independent. There's no way that you can identify Mr. Patrick Pereira as an independent person having first served on the exact same board as a representative of the government. Either you're saying that he wasn't really representing the government from 2017 up until January this year, that he was an independent person all along, or if he was, then there's no way that he can be appointed as chairman now and be expected to act independently.
What in your view is the definition of independence in this case?
No, again, I mean, like I said, Trinidad is an extremely small place, so it's hard to find persons, especially at an executive level, who do not have a connection, to both the government and the private sector and that sort of thing. But to say that for 4 years, Mr. Ferreira has been acting on behalf of the government and can simply step away from that now and act independently, it's very infuriating and it's very concerning, because no one can be asked to do that and can be believed. And it comes back to trust, and it comes back to public perception of the person. To step from government to independent in just one move and over the course of one day is something I think that is absolutely impossible, and it speaks to the morality of both the government and Mr. Ferreira that they believe that such a transition can take place in a day, in the span of a day.
Yeah, is there, and what's the likelihood as to when this matter gets to be sorted out, whether or not? So the judge has to decide whether she will have a what you call it, a preliminary hearing to determine it, or that she will grant leave to hear the matter, in essence. When do you think, is there any signal as to when I will start to happen?
Well, I mean, there is a backlog in the judicial system, so we're always conscious of that. That said, we've made the case that this is an urgent matter that requires urgent attention. So, but it all comes down to the judge's own judgment and her belief of whether or not it's a matter that requires any urgency. Like I said, we've put together an extremely strong case in my view, and I think that any reasonable person should understand, why the matter is so urgent and why it needs to be heard and dealt with quickly rather than to be prolonged and to take years, as some matters usually do.
All right, so there's a story in one of the papers, this one I think is the Express, in which, the protests that were held took place in the Beetham some weeks ago concerning the problems with fixing the sewage arrangements in there. The story says that there's been intelligence reporting now that says that protest was politically inspired. The person who led it is said to be an activist for the UNC. Well, in fact, the Minister of Public Utilities said that when I spoke with him some months ago, and that is reported in the paper this morning. Although, in my view, there needs to be more information about it, because they say that he was paid to do that. Well, we should see evidence of that where that is the case. But I just wanted to put that by the side of it. It raises the question. In your case, people could say, well, so that gentleman doesn't shy away from the fact that he's a UNC activist. And in this case, when people, how do you respond to people who would say, well, you bring these motions and you get attorneys who are associated with the UNC to fight them? If people make a connection between that, so Anand Ramlogan, who was an Attorney General in the UNC for the partnership, Jayanti Lakshmidayal is a member of Parliament now for the UNC. How do you respond to people saying, well, so again, you are a proxy for the UNC in actions of this sort?
Well, it's something that I've had to deal with quite a bit, because people are always quick to put persons in boxes and to, give them designations and that sort of thing. But you would have seen this week the commission that was set up to investigate the matter at Paria, where the 4 persons tragically lost their lives.
Yes.
You would see one of the persons on that commission now is Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj, a former UNC Attorney General as well.
Yes.
And, can the case then be made that the commission itself is related or reflects the views of the UNC because of that? No, you won't. And what I do, I had a connection to the UNC. I've severed that connection somewhat recently. But whether or not it has to do with the UNC, Mr. Anand Ramlogan is one of the best attorneys in Trinidad and Tobago. I don't think anyone can dispute that. And the fact that we've won countless cases, both in the judiciary and just by filing matters, we've been able to get so many victories. I don't think anyone would dispute that you don't go to Anand Ramlogan as a UNC lawyer. You go to Anand Ramlogan as someone that can secure a victory for you in the courts. And that's the reason that I've always had dealings with Mr. Ramlogan with Freedom Law Chambers. And in terms of myself, what I'm doing here has nothing to do with the UNC. It has nothing to do with any political motivations. What it is on behalf, and this is really on behalf of all workers, as I said, the entire working population of Trinidad and Tobago. Everyone who makes a national insurance contribution, an NIS contribution, including myself, feels threatened by the news that is coming out of the NIB regarding the retirement age, regarding their lack of funding. They're saying, they may not have funds to be able to make distributions when you retire and this sort of thing. Everyone is concerned about it. Everyone is worried about it. And to have someone now lead that institution, chair the NIB, who you are not sure where their loyalties lie, where their true motivations come from, I think is disturbing. I think it is concerning to the vast majority of Trinidad and Tobago. And nobody can say that this is a politically motivated action when you see that it affects so many people of so many spectrums and persons of all political parties in Trinidad and Tobago.
All right, we got to go, but let me just ask them. So there's a great deal of urgency behind this matter, but you allow that the judge's docket as it might be is crowded. What's the prospect of getting this matter heard in a time when it matters, rather than us not showing when it will come up?
Well, again, I mean, it's all based on the case that we're putting forward and how willing Justice Wilson is how much leeway she can give to us and allow it to be heard as an urgent matter. We're hoping that it can be resolved within a few months, but again, based on the backlog of the judiciary, it's not always possible, and it comes down to her judgment. It comes down to her feelings on the matter. But the case that we've put forward, that we've put together, I think makes a strong argument for an urgent hearing, and hopefully this matter, even if the judicial review can be heard urgently, at least if we can get some relief in terms of the injunction, I think it would put people's minds at ease.
All right, thank you very much, my friend. Ravi Bhargavan Maharaj in the courts again in ostensibly the public interest. Thank you very much.
Sure, and thanks for having me again.
All right, so we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we share with you the numbers, the Newsday poll, the question and responses as we go forward on this Friday morning. Stay with us.
Change your fate. Start to win at life with $20,000 every month. Win $20,000 every month for 20 years with NLCB's newest game, Win for Life. 6 numbers from 28 plus the cash ball could make you win for life. You deserve a win. Play Win for Life today. Visit NLCBGames.com for details. Players must be 18 years and over. Please play responsibly.
Today we're talking about cosmetic medicine, and we're on set at Relax Med Aesthetics.
We are like famous all over the world for this glow. You could in an airport, you could spot a Caribbean over there. Oh my God, she's from Trinidad.
She's definitely from Trinidad.
Yeah. So I felt like that was something that we needed to feel like we belonged, and we needed to feel empowered that our skin color was really important.
Step we've been waiting for is the chemical peel, right? So I'm gonna start applying.
What's up, Doc? Tuesdays and Thursdays here on WESN, Content Capital.
We have been apart for a long time. Now let's get together once again. Let's welcome you back. Family. North Coast Jazz 2022, May 27th to 29th. Born here, played here.
What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers?
Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best.
I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
We go in depth on the trending issues and engage the most controversial newsmakers
as we get them to account to the people for their actions.
You can't go to the government with nothing. You can't go to cabinet with an empty hand, with a wish.
I'm glad that we're having this a sober, mature discussion.
In the present situation, I expect a continuation of the chaos.
Join us for the discussion, Mondays to Fridays,
only on WESN,
the content capital.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix-It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix-It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
It may seem like the hardest thing to do right now, but we all need each other to wear a mask, wash our hands, watch our physical distance, and stay at home. We need you safe. Together we can make the difference. Together we can curb the spread of COVID-19. So let's be responsible in our actions. The Trinidad and Tobago Red Cross Society. Mission-based, people-focused, community-driven.
I used to rent a base when Kitchener come to New York, go down 48th Street and rent an upright base just to bring Kitchener in a particular restaurant, wherever I'm working, to jam that bass. And he had such a personality on that bass. People used to go crazy just to see Kitchener play that bass, you know. When we were both young.
Nobody does it better than Kitchener. A genius, a legend. He is the Grand Master. Here is a man with a plan who fully understands the formula for fun. The man can make tune for the gun. Astray. The history of Lord Kitchener will tell you a great composer, social commentator, musician, hero, professor, a natural leader, ten-toner teacher and tutor. For Panorama, always a great contributor. For a melody sweet and rich, you can always count on Kitch. Is what I call a musical switch. He is something else, the man in a class by himself. So put him on the top shelf. Put him on the top shelf. Voices. Nobody does it like Kitchener. A genius, a legend. He is the Grand Master. Here is a man with a plan. Who fully understands the formula. The man could make you for the man. It's steady. Sing it. This is how we know they used to play mass in Trinidad. Jump, baby, jump, baby. Straight. When you sing it, remember you must swing right, swing left. Jump as you want. Jump, baby, jump, baby. Whine if you're whining. Then you shout and say, let we break away. All you do, give me room, let me pass.
All right, so as they say in the church and church circles, the chief celebrant there was Willard Harris, the relator. We'll come to him after the 7 o'clock news on this very issue, but we're starting this tribute to Kitchener, as we said, the Grand Master, with Errol Peru, who wrote a moving piece in a publication in the Express over the weekend, celebrating the life and times of Kitchener and talking about how they met and how he came to have worked with him as closely as he did for a number of years. That's part of the celebration of what would have been his 100th birthday sometime this year by the Arima rebranding team, headed by Mr. Saunders and company like that. In different parts of the country, they have been holding these activities to mark the 100th anniversary of Kitchener. Errol Peru is our guest now. Good morning. Good to see you. All right, so we'll get to Mr. Piru in a bit. We just run down the numbers here for you with COVID-19 and the Newsday poll, the question and the response before we get to that. So these are the numbers for COVID-19, Mr. Sponey. The new positive cases, 133,138. That's the total recovered patients. 6,519, the total active positive cases. 3,808. That's the number of persons who've died from COVID since we began the counting. That was on March 12, 2020. And the positive cases reported between then and now, 143,465. 546, that's the number of new positive cases reported in the last 24 hours, and 156, the number of persons in hospital in the parallel healthcare system treating with COVID-19. That's where we are. That's where we were yesterday, April 21st, 2022. For the Newsday poll, the question is, in what ways can Trinidad and Tobago benefit from a cannabis industry? And that matter has gone back to Parliament and moving closer to passing the law to, certainly decriminalize it and make more use of it and bring it more centered into people's lives. And there was an interesting story in the paper about that, a former ambassador for Trinidad and Tobago, former diplomat, and then an independent senator, Corinne Batiste McKnight, saying that she used to smoke it while she was suffering with cancer before she died, and she was recommending that is a recommendation for at least part of the question of medicinal uses for marijuana, cannabis as they call it. So that was the question. In what ways can Trinidad and Tobago benefit from a cannabis industry, as indeed is the case in other Caribbean countries, in Jamaica to some extent, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to other extents, and Grenada as well, moving in that direction. Here are the responses. Plant it and sell it internationally. That's one response. The other, we could get high and we go to school and sell at school and fight. Pretty negative there. Another response, THC, that's one of the properties in cannabis, is a psychoactive compound and its use should be avoided when driving or operating machinery. I hope this warning comes with any future legislation. And the final response, certain minister and his stepdaughter can bring it without getting arrested. So those are the responses to the question. In what ways can Trinidad and Tobago benefit from a cannabis industry? All right, so we begin to take a look around the region. Now we go to Belize, where there's a story about Belize ambassador to the European Union escorted before magistrate and facing charges of rape in this case. And that's one of the charges, having sexual relations with a woman since she was 13 years old until she turned 27. Let's take a look at that.
He holds the position of co-agent for Belize when we present our memorial to the ICJ in response to Guatemala. But today, a dark cloud looms over the future of Ambassador Alexis Rosado. The senior diplomat was escorted before Belmopan magistrate Janely Villanueva Penil this afternoon, where he was read a slew of charges, including 7 counts of aggravated assault and 2 counts of rape. The complainant is said to be a woman in her 20s who alleges that the incidents date back several years from when she was a minor. Ambassador Rosado appeared before magistrate Villanueva Penil, who offered him bail of $5,000 and adjourned the matter until July 6th. Today, Rosado was accompanied by attorney René Mateno Jr., while Director of Public Prosecutions Sherilyn Vidal appeared on behalf of the Crown. The allegations are serious against a senior diplomat who has a long-standing service for Belize and who is well respected in the diplomatic corps. Before he was assigned to work with the Belize team at the ICJ in The Hague, Ambassador Rosado served as ambassador of Belize to Guatemala and as a non-resident ambassador to Costa Rica, Honduras, and Panama. He has held the post of Chief Executive Officer in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Belmopan for 6 years, at which time he was also head of the Joint Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade for 4 years. His other past titles include Ambassador to Belgium, co-chair of the Belize-Guatemala Joint Commission, Belize's alternate presidential commissioner to CELSAC and to SICA, High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Ambassador to the European Commission and European Union, and permanent representative to the World Trade Organization. Whether the charges brought today against him have any bearing on Rosado's current posting to Belize case at the ICJ is uncertain. We've contacted the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Eamon Courtney, who indicated that a press release on the matter would be forthcoming.
Okay, that's some rough stuff there. We will take a short break, and when we come back, we hope to be talking with Errol Peru as we begin our double discussion on the life and times of Lord Kitchener. Stay with us.
Gift giving during a lockdown can still be hassle-free with a gift from FanZone with delivery options available nationwide. Visit and browse our Facebook and Instagram pages for all your official licensed merchandise and apparel and have it delivered to your door. Find us on Facebook and Instagram. FanZone, we've got you covered.
The best for your baby is at thebesttoys.com. From the best strollers, car seats, baby carriers, high chairs, booster seats, rockers, jumpers and bouncers, walkers, baby blankets, feeding accessories, bathtubs. Visit us in-store at Forces Flagship McLean. Shop online now at thebesttoys.com. Order via call or WhatsApp at 332-BABY. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
Saturday, May 28th, the day we come together again as family. Master talent, great food, awesome vibe. Come have a good time. Family, a tribute to Lord Nelson.
It's tradition on the island. Nowhere else that I know is like
North Coast Jazz, born here, played here.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m. only on WESN, Content Capital.
People really want to know, what about me? Where do I fit? Yes. What is in the ride for me in terms of a better Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm pleased to shed some light on that.
The purpose of bail is to ensure your attendance at court. That's it. It is not punitive. It is not rehabilitative.
We, the police officers, we are professional, and we are here for whenever the survivor is ready to come forward.
We have the right to private and family life, the right to religious freedoms and beliefs and thoughts and expression. But these rights are not absolute. Certain rights can be limited.
The law is to govern the whole. It's for all of us in public.
Pretend we're in darkness and you love me.
We Comedy Jam Season 3 is finally here.
Trinity people just give you the landmarks you don't need. On the right hand side, you'll see a standpipe. I put on this pee on that standpipe.
Tell me COVID is a red girl, yes? I have no money.
Tune in to WESN every Monday from 8 p.m. to hear your favorite comedians bring you the laughs.
So from above the waist, Indian, but below the waist, still Indian. So.
That's not all. Catch us for a repeat every Thursday.
Where's a little bit of wrinkle when you're steamy, right? You know what I mean?
We Comedy Jam only on WESN, your content capital.
If you live with someone who's tested positive for COVID-19 and has to self-isolate at home, take care of them from a distance and reduce their movement around the house. Give them space, a designated space, and open those windows. If you have to be in contact, mask up, both of you. If you work, stay home from work and don't go out, not even to the grocery or pharmacy. And remember, no visitors allowed. Limit the contact to limit the spread.
The Trinidad and Tobago Red Cross Society. Mission-based, people-focused, community-driven.
All right, so let's get to it. So first of all, two discussions about the life and times of this Calypso genius, Alwyn Roberts, Lord Kitchener. A series of activities to mark what would have been his 100th birthday, organized by the Arima rebranding team of Mr. Saunders and the company. Errol Peru, somebody who worked with Kitchener, certainly as a manager and a close friend and associate for a number of years. He wrote a piece that was moving in a tribute in the Express on Sunday, a section of the paper dedicated to Kitchener. Mr. Peru is with us now. Good morning. Good to see you.
Morning. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me?
Were you doing it via the phone?
Well, yeah, because we were trying to work some stuff out. You had some challenges with the audio on the video. I was seeing you but not hearing you.
Yeah, I'm not hearing you too well either.
No?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's start with the piece that you wrote in the section of the Express on Sunday, which was dedicated to remembering Alwyn Roberts. You talked about how you met him, and you ended the piece by sort of composing something using the titles and the names of a string of his calypsos. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Oh, how I met him?
Hello?
Yeah, how I met him?
Yes, you started the piece by talking about how you met him and how you ended up working for him.
Somewhere in the 90s, I was still in advertising. I was still at election advertising agency. And you hearing me, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I was still at office for an election advertising agency. I was on the way to work a morning from Santa Cruz. And then I do traffic at one of the radio stations. They were playing the Bring Along on a Christmas song like Look. So I said to myself that very morning, hey, I will take this thing and sing it along and make it into a jingle because of efficiency at the time of the song. So in my own little way, I started to jot down little changes in the song. I'm not a but I started to make a little changes in it. And time I reached the office, I went to my leader, Lee Johnson, and Lee, I have a night. And before this could finish telling my idea, said go and speak to Lord Kitchener. And Andy Boy, I thought at that time the urge to walk up and say, but that's all because little Errol going to Big Kitchener, I mean, I couldn't handle it, because some things on TV, people and at stage, but to make them one-on-one problem. So it took me about 4 days before I could put up Kitchener and started telling how it is, how to go and meet the master, what I put in the teeth. And started set up, boy, go inside, look out and talk, compose in our street, steady scene. But my boss came to me, Errol, if you don't go and sell that idea to Kitchener, I will fire you. Right? You'll have to commute up. So I'm morning around Sunday the morning around 2:30, I turn in my bed and I think to myself, Errol, you have to go. I say I'll go after, let me have lunch, have a good lunch, if I have to go and get a book for the food stuff. So I went down there at 2 o'clock, and I rang the bell on his gate. He had this bell like a school bell, and I waited there for about 3-4 minutes. Nobody came up. As I was about to start, I saw somebody peep through the window, a woman. I said, okay. I waited there again for the next few minutes. Then after about 4 minutes again, I saw Kitchener walking down the garage, the pathway, and he came to the gate and he said to me, and he said, I said, Mr. Kitchener, good morning. My name is Errol Pugh, and I have an idea about you using a song for singing. He said, come boy, come. So he opened the gate and he walked me inside and into his music room. He said, sit down, boy. So I did that. He said, let me hear you. I said, well, okay, I work in a Canada. Now, I would like to use your Kintaramana system. He said, sing it, let me hear you. He said, let me hear you. So I started to recite it. The second grand, the buckets of all this scripture. He said, no. Sing it like me. Sing it. Boy, Andy, boy, you know, I must sing. I can't carry and make it a bucket. So the second grand, with bottles of all this scripture. He said, no. He said, sing it like me. So I tried. Then he said, no, get up, sing it, and dance like me. Just like that, you know. Yes, oh God. And it's over here.
What was he like to work with?
The fetid grand, with bottles of all this fiction, let your glass in hand, and join in this celebration. And I think they put spice in the air. That good, boy, that's good. I like that. And he never said to me whether he's going to do the jingle or not. He said, sit down, boy. And I stayed there and he chatted with me for 1.5 hours. And I got the song, the money in the morning, I know, it's my operator for me. So, Lord, Kitchener is out here to see it. What? At that point in time, your boy feeling nice, feeling good. Lord Kitchener coming to see me. Then I reached out to the staff, about 60 people all gathered around Kitchener. Kitchener was a classic player, and there's a man and a guitar in his hand. He said, how do you think here, boy? How do you think? So I put him in the conference room, and I put Lee with me, and I said, Lee, let's come, let's do this. And he played it. So at that point in time, I said, well, I mean, we're going with that for sure, but I said, I need to get back at you. I'm going to tell him, sing it for me. So he put it there, and he sang it. And he said to me, Errol, go and record that jingle today. So I called Pencil, and I went on to Nario. I've been with you, and we recorded the jingle. And you know, Andy, in advertising, there's something they call the Clio Awards, which is equal to the Grammy and Music and the Austrian film. And in 1994, that commercial was submitted to the Clio Awards committee. And out of 60-something thousand entries from across the globe, from the top advertising agencies, that won a Clio Award. That won a Clio Award. And that was my first encounter with him. And after that, I just started to receive calls the following day. Not the following, the Monday, the Tuesday, I started to receive calls. Mr. Pugh, you are his manager. So we would like to book you for so and so. And I never wanted to ask Kitchener to be his manager. Because it was handed to me on a platter. So all by me, Kitchener, my first meeting, I mean, we have had a long full time together.
We're running out of time, but I wanted to find out what was he like to work with?
Oh, Kitch was, let me put it this way, Andy. I working with Kitchener was a learning experience for me because, I mean, granted, I was able to handle his business part of his career. You know, as they say in this business, I was able to build the stage, not physically, but set the stage for him. I will do his contracts and ensure everything else is okay. But working with Kitchener taught me a lot, especially to be very, very meticulous and very look at every point. Dot your I's and cross your T's in the entertainment business, especially when you go into the TV making. In the TV making is a different thing entirely. He would have put down, you would record a song, but you would record line by line. Instead of him maybe putting down an entire chorus or few lines in a verse, he would put down, record line by line. Get it right. Let's do it over. It's not right. And then he do the next line. Kitchener was not only a calypsonian, Andy. Kitchener was a musician.
Yes.
He was a musician.
Because he used to play the big bass.
Ability to put lyrics to music. He had the ability to do that. And the strange thing about it, Kitchener only played the guitar and the standing bass. Kitchener didn't do stand, but yet Kitchener had the ability to compose.
All right, we're gonna have to leave it there, Errol. I'm sorry about that. Let me apologize to the viewers because of the sort of atrocious quality of the audio there. But nevertheless, thank you very much for talking with us. We got to leave it there. We have to do the news, and we have on the other side of that relator in his take on his times with Lord Kitchener. Stay with us.
Seven is out. All day is in. WESN News on the hour.
Every day, we communicate through stories. Stories of ourselves, our challenges, our goals, our experiences, and our aspirations. Storytelling is an art that we have mastered. WESN Film Studios comprises a collaborative team of experts with extensive industry experience locally, regionally, and internationally. The ability of your business to successfully communicate with your preferred audience depends on the strength of the stories you tell. Your vision should be communicated in a high-quality, professional, and creative way. From concept to post-production, advertising to film, multi-camera productions, live events, streaming, and virtual conferencing, we are WESN Film Studio. Let your own unique voice be heard and your vision realized. Call us today at 628-5835 for your next production.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sport?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing on it.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is it no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the red, white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
In this season, we talk more about health, wellness, and everything in between. I am so excited to share with you everything about health and wellness so that you can design the life that you've always dreamed of. Join me here on What's Up Doc.
What's Up Doc? Tuesdays and Thursdays here on WESN, Content Capital.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
Burning questions, urgent topics. Welcome back to One on One, the show where we tackle the most current and pertinent subjects that are affecting all citizens, where we ask the hard questions and have in-depth conversations. What separates One on One from other talk shows is that the conversation stems from a younger perspective on topics that affect the fabric of our society. One on One, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. on WESN Content Capital.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
A reminder from WESN. We urge you to protect yourself and others from the spread of COVID-19. Stay safe by taking some simple precautions. Clean your hands often. Use soap and water or an alcohol-based hand rub. Maintain a safe distance from anyone who is coughing or sneezing. Wear a mask. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth. Cover your nose and mouth with your bent elbow or a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Stay at home. If you have a fever, cough, and difficulty breathing, seek medical attention. Following the above can help us all to help each other.
Welcome back to the program. This is AM Prime on this Friday morning. We continue our tribute to the late great Grandmaster Lord Kitchener. We're hearing now from, again, somebody who admired him, who said that he was the greatest. Nobody does it better, nobody did it better than him, Lord Kitchener. The relator.
Yes, sir.
Good to see you.
Good man.
All right. So let's talk about when you decided to, because that was featured in the feature that we've been running. You're singing that nobody does it better than Kitchener.
Yes.
Yes. Sometimes we have these what people call professional jealousies in this line of work, Calypsonians and Calypso stuff and so on. What did it take for you to put that together as a celebration of this man that you call the Grandmaster? I think you were the one who came up with that sobriquet for him, right?
Yes, because I was an admirer of him for many years before I got into the singing in the Calypso tent. And he sent for me before I was how to put it. Well, while I was still at school, he was aware of the work that I was doing behind the scenes. So invited me to join the review way back in 1970, 69, 70, thereabout.
Yeah. So he invited
So I
you.
told him that I had to finish school first before thinking about coming to the camp. So me writing the song was because of my admiration for him and the way how he approaches calypsos, you know, and that things like that.
Give us an example of what you when you say the way he approaches calypsos.
All right, listen. You remember he did a song called Penny.
Yes.
Well, Kitchener is the only person I knew at the time that can describe a scene or describe an event with the use of minimum words and still capture the event. For example, it was 12 o'clock the hour, quoting the verse that he used in it.
Right.
It was 12 o'clock the hour, a night in July, when a TTT announcer brought tears to my eye. He said, "Would you keep calm? We interrupt this program. You ought to know it first. Miss Penny is the queen of the universe." Now you see how he can capture nearly the entire scene just singing a verse. He covers the entire calypso just by singing a stanza or a verse of the said song. Are you with me?
Yes. Right, and then he
and that is what I admire so much about Kitchener, that he can comment and paint a picture of the entire event with the economy of words which he used. You call it in English. You call it prescient. He can prescient.
Right.
Better than anybody that I knew at the time.
Yeah. One of the many that stands out for me was his calypso about what happened in Christina Gardens in 1972 and so on, and the calypso was Stanley Abbott.
Right. Yeah, but I don't remember that song too well. But another classic example is Miss Tourist. How he can capture what happens at Carnival time. Here it is, a tourist dame. He's singing, quoting the calypso.
Miss Tourist, yes.
I met her the night she came. She curiously asking about my country. She said, "I heard about Bacchanal and the Trinidad Carnival. So I come to join in the fun, and I want you to show me how it is done." Kitchener goes on in the chorus to describe what happens. He said, "Come in town Juve morning, find yourself in a band. Watch the way how the natives move it, hug up tight with a man. Sing along with the tunes they're playing, and now and again you're shouting, play mass, Bacchanal, Miss Tourist." That is Carnival.
Yeah, and that was the road match?
1960s, yes.
1968, was it?
1968, thereabout, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But and again, going back to that calypso about Stanley Abbott and his use of local language, because he was saying to Stanley Abbott, you know, they say, Parmasa, who was one of the, I think, the chief witnesses for the state, they say you took Congo, sir. And then you talk about...
And that is another part of his calypsos that I always admire. He's always able to use the language and come up with words like that. You know, that although we know that it is there, but it's only he can adapt it to calypso. You know? Another one is the Imiga Zigua. You know the Zigua?
Well, you're going in one direction and you spin back, or you go in another direction. Quickly.
Yes, he and the doctor daughter jumping up in a van, and when they reach by Green Corner, they make a Zigua like they wanted to go and do something.
Yes.
You know? And then don't ask me to work for Carnival. Another language that he used, I prefer to lie by the dial.
Yes.
You know what he means by that?
Well, to go and hang out and
I prefer to hang out than to work for Carnival.
Yeah.
Here it is, he's capturing the psyche or the mentality or the behavior of the Trinidadian who doesn't want to work when it's Carnival time. Another one is 67.
Yes.
As I reach the corner, I bounce up Invader, playing 67, music in your person.
Music in your person, yes.
Right? You know what he means by that?
Well, yes.
We're not going into that. And then in Mr. Sariman, he did he used the language again. Is it the language? Am I using the right terminology?
Yes.
The language or the vernacular? What is?
Well, the language, but the vernacular is our expression of the language. So we speak in a certain way. That's our vernacular. But it, and you know, it comes down to being our language.
She parade in front of Kitchener. Well, as man, I make me money, ma.
Yes.
Then she started to watch me in a way, like she vexed because of Dingoli. You know?
Yeah, and there's another one in which you said, you know, she started vuvooneering.
That is from the Bees Melody. No?
Yeah.
Is that from the Bees Melody, vuvooneering?
I'm trying to recall it, yes. There's so many of them, and he sort of celebrated that. He
exactly.
He reveled in using our vernacular to its full effect.
Yes, man.
Yeah. What was he to get along with?
Well, he was very easygoing. Had a peculiar sense of humor, and he always you know, with us backstage sharing jokes and so on. You know, I remember once Lord Lester was being heckled in our tent went to Tanapuna Theatre or someplace like that, and they was heckling Lord Lester, I think, and Kitchener. When Lord Lester came off the stage, Kitchener said, "Look at you, boy. It your calypso that they interfering in is your clothes that you're wearing is what they're doing." you know, because he always had this impeccable sense of dressing.
Yes.
You know, he was in his three-piece suit all the time, singing in the calypso. So it sort of rub off on some of us. You know, we would like to sort of copy his style of dress and so on. You know.
Yeah. And again, I remember the calypso when it came back from, it was 1973 when Carnival was put in May in 72, and that's how he came to sing Rainorama. And then what is it that you talked about? They know they're threatened we jump up in 1973. I'm trying to remember the name of that one. Something
was it Rainorama?
Rainorama.
I think so.
Yes. Mama, when they hear, we will get the carnival.
All masqueraders on heat. on heat. They didn't care if it was official, but they started to make noise on the street. And they start, yes, is it polio or no polio? We go play with masks, something like that?
Yes. Because
I think it had to do with the epidemic that went on the year before.
Which is why they postponed the carnival. When they pushed it back from February to May, and he was talking about a mask in May.
Yes, man.
What do you? The thing is, and again, the period. A lot of us don't sort of probably recognize the period that he sang in England. I remember when he used to send home his calypsos, you know, that calypso for Christmas time. I try to remember what year it was. Was it not rum and Coca-Cola, but he was talking about
drink a rum and a punch of creamer.
Drink a rum and a punch of creamer. Yes.
Yes.
Now he couldn't come back, and that period. If he had talked about that period when he wanted to come and couldn't come, did he ever discuss those things about what may have been going on in his mind?
I wasn't. I don't think I was fully following him as early as then. You know.
Yeah.
You know, I only heard that song like Christmas time. You get up on Christmas morning and you hear it. That's about all I know about it, really. You know. But going into the history of it, I never got there.
Yeah, I mean,
man. So,
and there was this period when he seemed to have had a lock on the road march, and he won a string of road marches before anybody could get in there.
Yes.
And he composed calypsos especially expressly for the pan.
For the pan, yes.
Yeah, the thing
and
about
he was able to capture the nearly every aspect of the pan. He sang about the Iron Man. He sang about the guitar pan. He sang about the flag woman. You know, everything that covering the carnival, Kitchener kind of covered it in his composition. You know, that is so. show the what do you call it?
What?
Dexterity. Does it work?
Well, certainly, I was going to say that his linguistic dexterity.
Yes. Kitchener covered everything.
Yeah. The chorus when she has the chorus and she beat it, bang.
Yes, that was from the Iron Man.
Yeah, she started the thing.
Then the pan in the Dry River.
Yeah.
He was able to capture the sound of the tins coming down on the side of the river in the water.
Right.
And hearing pan beating somewhere in the Dry River. You remember that song?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And he's hearing music coming out of that thing, and that was the genius of the man. That was the genius that allowed him to execute and to bring out all of these lovely things, the melodies and so on. And I mean, he what helped him a lot is that he was a kind of musician. He used to play guitar and he used to play the double bass.
The big bass, yes.
So that building a melody was it came kind of natural to him. He was that helped him a lot. I could tell you that. Being able to construct a melody.
I go back to some of his earliest stuff, talking about Miss Bitodier in Arima. Old lady walking a mile and a half.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And in fact, there was somebody named Miss Bitodier that was, would have been Holly Bitodier's mother or something.
I understand so. I understand that. I got that message, yes.
And he remained a dedicated Arimian. I mean, he was a citizen of the world.
He even sang a calypso. If you're kind-hearted like Arima people, you go win lottery, you go win raffle, He had a song about Arima people as well,
Yes. You're the quintessential, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. So that is it, basically, Andy. What can I say about Kitchener? He was consistent. He was true to, he was a true, servant to the art form. He dedicated him, I could say that he dedicated his life to the music, the steel pan and the calypso and the Trinidadian behavior,
Yeah.
When he said, any time is Trinidad time.
Yes.
He was able to capture the behavior and the attitude of a Trinidadian, He described exactly what a Trinidadian is all about. To come when they feel is a joke, they never punctual. They always reach late for their work. It's traditional. Everybody know. Anytime is Trinidad time, wherever you go. Anytime is Trinidad time. They go tell you 8. Anytime is Trinidad time. They come half past late, and
Yes.
things like that.
He continued to have his, and that is something that I think we haven't really begun to dig deep into, how he was able to always keep his finger on our pulse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We never really embrace it, really, It's only after he gone we try in bits and pieces to kind of recover all of that greatness,
So, in all these activities to mark what would have been his 100th birthday, you featuring anywhere, you performing anywhere?
Not yet.
But it is to come?
Eh?
It is to come?
Hopefully, yes. I had some challenges,
Yeah. But what so you have to take a break from the stage?
Yes. I had to ease up a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. But you probably missing this kind of action.
Yes.
But what do you make of this this prolonged celebration
but
for
we're
him?
hoping that we kind of getting back to normal. We're hoping that with the opening up, things could, what do you call it, the safe zones and all of that. We hoping that we could grapple with it and set things in motion again.
And come back to normal. You think there's going to be another normal, or there'll be a new normal, whatever that
I think it's going to be a new normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't get back to 100% audience participation. Sitting down in our audience, and I don't know what is going to happen.
Yeah.
It's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, but you think this celebration of the life and times of this man, it's past due and it's well deserved.
Of course, yeah, man. It's well deserved, and it is fitting that if he was around, he would have been 100. Yeah. I mean, what else you can say about Kitch? All has been said. There's nothing more you can add. Everything about Kitchener is well documented and well. How you put it?
Is well noted.
Yes.
This is one case in which we can't be faulted for. People say we neglect our heroes, our stars, our performers. In this case, I think this is a way of making amends for all of that.
Oh yes, man, sure.
Yeah. All right, my friend. Thank you very much for talking with us on this great morning.
Okay, thanks, Randy, and thanks to all the listeners, and all the best.
All right, same to you.
Okay.
Willard Harris, the relator, reminiscing on the life and times of Olin Roberts, Lord Kitchener. We're going to take another look around the region now. We take you to Guyana now, where the president has moved ahead and appointed 3 members to the Natural Resource Fund Board, despite the opposition challenging the validity of the Natural Resource Fund Act in the courts. Take a look.
Has been appointed by the President to serve as chairman of the Natural Resource Fund Board. The President has also nominated British Member of Parliament David Lammy and the Guyana's permanent representative to the United Nations, Karen Rodrigues, as his other 2 nominees to the board. The 3 presidential nominees will join the parliamentary nominee Dunstan Barrow and the private sector nominee Ramesh Tuku as the members of the Board of Directors of the Natural Resource Fund. The board will effectively oversee the spending of Guyana's oil resources. Section 5.2 of the Natural Resource Fund Act mandates that directors be selected from persons who have wide experience in legal, financial, business, or administrative matters. The APNU-AFC opposition is currently challenging the passage of the Natural Resource Fund Act, which paved the way for the board's appointment. In a recent court filing, the APNU-AFC, through its chief whip Christopher Jones, requested a declaration that the appointment of any board of directors will be illegal by virtue of what the opposition said is the non-passage of the act. But with the court still to hear and determine the matter, the government has been moving ahead with the appointments of the board and the other systems we put in place for its effective operation. In a statement today, the Office of the President said that today, in accordance with the Act and in exercise of his deliberate judgment, the President appointed Major General Joe Singh, Mr. David Lammy and Karen Rodrigues, along with Dunstan Barrow and Ramesh Tuku, as the Board of Directors of the Natural Resource Fund of Guyana. Additionally, Major General Joe Singh, the President said, has been appointed to chair the board. Last month, the National Assembly approved a motion for Dunstan Barrow, nominated by the Standing Committee on Appointments of the National Assembly, to serve as a director of the Board of Directors of the fund. Private sector organizations selected former Private Sector Commission Chairman Ramesh Tuku to serve as their representative on the board. Section 5.1 of the Natural Resource Fund Act provides for a board of directors of the fund comprising of not less than 3 and not more than 5 members who shall be appointed by the President, inclusive of a chairman.
All right, and that's that report from our friend and colleague Gordon Mosley at News Source Guyana. We go to the Bahamas now, where they're talking about inflation on the rise there. Take a look from All News Bahamas.
The cost of living may be on the way up again as the International Monetary Fund is projecting the highest price hike in decades looms. Berthany McDermott reports.
The International Monetary Fund is projecting consumer prices will increase by 7.3% this year. Prime Minister Philip Davis says the news didn't take him by surprise. He says his government is working to mitigate the impact on consumers.
We're looking at measures and initiatives now to do that. We are talking with shipping companies to lower the cost of freight coming in and to try to get discounts on containers. We've already successfully did that with one company, and we are now talking about how we could assist through the logistical supply chain to reduce costs in those areas.
The IMF's World Economic Outlook comes as Bahamians face rising fuel, food, and other prices, and as the country is still on the rebound following the global pandemic. The IMF's projected increase would be the highest annual percentage change in inflation since 1991, when consumer prices increased by 7.3%. Inflationary pressures are projected to see a lower increase in 2023 of 4.5%, before leveling out to pre-pandemic levels of 2.4% in 2027.
We're not surprised because a lot of the factors that inform the inflationary numbers are we can't control, we have no control of it.
His comments were echoed by Social Services and Urban Development Minister Obi Wilshcombe, who said government will increase social services assistance amid this grim revelation.
Yes, absolutely. The Prime Minister will unveil because we have to meet the needs of our people. These are situations that you didn't plan for, but the circumstances are what they are. Our job is to respond to them. We will.
Opposition member Kwesi Thompson also weighing in, saying the IMF report didn't take him by surprise. He offered a number of suggestions the Davis administration could implement to ease the burden on Bahamians. Topping that list, removing VAT from breadbasket items.
They have been consulting, but we are calling upon them to act. One easy, very quick thing that can be done is they can remove VAT off of breadbasket items. That will have an immediate effect on the prices that people pay for food.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
All right, and just before we leave you on this Friday morning, just tell you what's in the papers this morning. The Newsday Trinidad and Tobago and the Newsday Tobago, Sidara's Brave Walk. That's the story with a picture on the front page about a school student who is dealing with cancer, but going to school nevertheless. She's being escorted by her parents, and other stories in the paper. The Prime Minister back from this meeting of leaders in Barbados. He's saying we can't beat our way out of school violence, and he says that well, fuel prices can be reduced if the global prices fall. Therefore, that is something to watch for in Trinidad and Tobago. That's the front page of the Newsday Trinidad and Tobago, and that's the back page. In the Newsday Tobago, they're talking about welcoming the announcement by Caribbean Airlines to have a direct Barbados to Tobago flight back and forth, Tobago, Barbados, Barbados, Tobago. They say that's a welcome sign. Excitement as the bell rings, classes resume in schools in Tobago. That's the front page, and that's the back page of these publications this morning. Also, I just want to tell you, as we wrap up, my comment, the situation in Wassa needs some attention. You had the sudden resignation of the man put in charge of this transformation program a couple of months ago. Now the man who's put to act has been suspended. We don't know why, but things are happening at Wassa which require urgent attention and some inspection inside of there. This is just to say that I'll be taking some R&R over the next week. I won't but be here taking a rest somewhere. The program will go on and I'll return when we get back. In the meantime, we want you to stay with us here. Of course, we take you news at the top of the hour, followed by today's edition of Talking Point with Mr. Small, who's been anchoring the proceedings in the last week. And on 10 questions at 10 o'clock, I'll be talking with Mr. Ansel Dennis, the lone contender for the position of head of the Tobago arm of the People's National Movement. But for now, that's it. Thanks for watching. I'm Andy Johnson. We see you around.